of Tomorrow, India's only daily television platform for small businesses. We bring you the right information to empower you, the SME entrepreneur. We bring you highlights from the multiple cities that the Leaders of Tomorrow team travels to come face to face with you, the SME entrepreneur. Tonight, we're bringing you highlights of a panel discussion that we did in Indore talking about opportunities for SMEs in a services-driven economy. Listen in to some of the highlights.
This is not news to anyone, but Indore is our country's leading education hub, particularly if Central India is to take a closer look. And I believe that Indore is the only city that's home to both an IIT and an IIM. But what luck, and Professor, my first question is to you, what luck has this top-tier metro had in attaining and retaining top one talent?
Yeah, thanks, Pooja. Yes, you're right. I am Indore and IIT Indore both being at Indore, and Indore being the only city so far now to have both an IIT and an IIM in the same place is a blessing. But what I see is most of the students from, who come into such institutes are all from all over the country. They represent the cream of the country. They clear IIT JEE, for example, get good ranks to get into IIT, or they get a 97, 98 percentile CAT score to come into an IIM. What we are facing as a challenge is to get some of these students to stay back in Indore and contribute to the local industry, which is not happening. And one of the reasons, obviously, is because the brand equity of these institutes is so high that placement is not really a big challenge. Of the older IIMs, if we talk about, we are able to place our students like in 3-4 days flat, the entire batch. Some students actually get 2-3 jobs sometimes. So the lucracy of a high-paying job versus contributing to Indore's MSMEs, joining them at lower ranks or lower perks, lower salaries, is not really an obvious option for them. So they go for their lucrative corporate jobs, so I think it's a big, as you rightly mentioned, it's a big challenge to get some of these students to stay back and contribute to the community.
And Anupama, I'd like your take on this, because statistics show that this city, Indore, enjoys a literacy rate that's upwards of 87%, I believe. That's compared to the national average of 74%. So that would imply that Indore has a creme de la creme workforce. Is that reflected in your individual companies? And do you believe that, what the professor's point is accurate, essentially? So,
what I would say is there is a difference in Tier 1 and Tier 2 colleges. So when we talk about IIMs and IITs, they are Tier A colleges. I mean, they're the best A-grade colleges. But when I talk about the second grade of colleges, so we get crowd from in and around MP. So, but of course, I mean, the crowd has started moving up. I mean, the quality of the crowd is getting better. The placements are getting better. In fact, if I have to tell you about the crowd, then companies have started preferring the students of MP and Indore definitely. So the placements are improving. The skill of the students here is improving.
And are those placements, and I'll throw that to this side of the panel, and I'll start with you, Pratap. Are those placements being offered in more service-oriented jobs versus encouraging a spirit of entrepreneurship, versus encouraging a student to build up their appetite of risk, to found a startup, to join an SME, so on and so forth?
So what we were talking about, the risk-taking capacity, like that is missing in the students, right? So in Indore being a Tier 2 city, so always they aspire and they want to go to Tier 1 cities or metro cities to work. So what happens, they all want to start their future in a secure and safe manner. So this is something, a laguna which is missing in the education institutes, right? So where if it is inculcated, yes, entrepreneurship should be fostered at the very basic level in these colleges. So once it is done, then of course they will be at a position where they can take risk. And in the last 7 years or 10 years, entrepreneurship has fostered like anything in Indore. So the students are again aware of all these things. And now they are aspiring for starting their own businesses, small enterprises, and with the support of other people.
So if I may,
please.
So if I may want to add to him, so if I have been working with students for last 10 years, and what I have observed in this education ecosystem is that, of course, until last 5-6 years, it was the wave was all of placements. But today, if you look at the society, the kind of ecosystem that is being developed in entrepreneurship, parents have started accepting their kids going for their own startups. The institutions have started encouraging them, taking various initiatives, like there is something called entrepreneurship cell. So every institute today has entrepreneurship cell where they are making their, children, their students aware about what's happening in entrepreneurship and what's the benefit of being an entrepreneur. So I think it may take a little more time. The process may be a little slow, but I am very hopeful about the fact that there are going to be time where colleges will stop proclaiming about how many placements they have, but they will talk more about, the entrepreneurs that they have created.
Right. Some of these resources that Anupama just mentioned in terms of entrepreneurship cells being available to those who care to capitalize on them, those who care to take advantage of them. You're an entrepreneur. You're an entrepreneur as well. Are these resources that you were available, that you were aware of, and that you considered to be available to you when you founded your individual businesses?
See, as of now, I have not used any of these resources. And when I was in college, there were entrepreneurship cells, there were activities going on, but not at that level. But now, when I see 5 years down the line, things have improved. So students are actively participating in this, and I believe so this is helpful for them.
What about you, Mohak?
Yeah. So the buffer that we have faced right now is understanding what kind of leveraging technical expertise that we can impart to the students of these colleges so that they can come up with the contouring aspects of startup ecosystems. When we are talking about entrepreneurship, today we have a syllogism of traditional and non-traditional businesses in this city. Now we wanted to leverage it and make it a startup 2.0 culture over here so that when the leverages trees start building up, then other IT service companies and other SME sectors will start erupting too. So we need to impart a sort of a collective approach towards students and entrepreneurs so that they understand what kind of industrial need a new startup ecosystem in Indore has. So that way we can actually, sprout up the development ecosystem over here.
Fascinating point. And Abhishek, I'd love to bring you in here now. What I've noticed in this city is that so many traditional industries, for example, Indore is the street food capital of the country, clearly. And yet a very traditional industry like food and beverage is seeing technology intertwine so beautifully with it. Now, does that create an opportunity for new entrants, in your view, in a way that doesn't perhaps happen in cities outside of Indore?
Thank you, Pooja. I would say that if you put Indore's food culture and the technology together, there are a lot of opportunities which are there. While we can always have technology come into the traditional businesses, what has been lacking all this while is that the businesses have been rather unorganized and scattered. And so when you involve technology into this, there's a lot of consolidation which also happens along with that. And if you put the two factors together, then the purpose that the MSMEs should have more businesses, because as the consolidation happens, you're basically creating bigger corporates. So that somehow beats the purpose. But if you look at it, there is a lot of demand for technology to come into. So if you look at an example of Pratap Snacks for that matter, it's a pretty traditional snacks business. But with the introduction of technology in that business, they have been able to create a world-class institution in a city like Indore. So yes, there's a huge opportunity like that, but somebody has to take the step and do the hard work.
Well, Pallavi, who will be the person or the entity that will take that first step and do the hard work, as Abhishek just mentioned?
I agree to the Abhishek's perception, as there is lots of opportunity we can generate in this sector. As I am doing a conventional way agriculture sector, but I am doing it with technological enhancement. So there is lots of opportunity we can do betterment with the technology. But it's true that in Indore scenario, there is needs of lots of opportunity is there with the technological aspects.
So again, I would like to add
Please.
on this. See, we at OE24 are trying to implement technology in on-demand food production system, right? And I personally believe so there is a lot of scope of implementing technology into this particular field, and it would cut down the cost to a huge extent. And once it has been done, people would be reluctant to cook at home, because you can supply food for so cheaper cost provided you implement technology in it. So in fact, this on-demand food production system, you can sell food at very low cost.
We need a symbiotic approach towards technology and traditional businesses. That's what very important Indore wants, because Indore has been and it will be inherently a traditional business marketplace. When I talk about being into technology, it's like we need something as an enhancement towards the existing technology that we have in Indore. Like finding a React developer is a very difficult task in Indore, let alone finding an AI engineer over here. Like you can get an app developer over here, but you find developing an AI engineer is a very difficult task over here. And since now this is the churning period where Indore is focusing on becoming one of the most happening smart startup culture in India, we need a technology 2.0 kind of people who come and cater around the market and help traditional business grow, as well as building moonshot ideas as well as. So that's what we need.
Time for a quick break here on the Leaders of Tomorrow, but on the other side, we'll continue bringing you those key takeaways from that panel discussion in Indore. Just stay tuned. Welcome back with us here on Leaders of Tomorrow, and tonight on the show we're talking about Indore and the opportunities for SMEs in a services-driven economy. Listen.
Professor, my question is to you. So larger players like Infosys and TCS have all chosen to set up significantly sized development centers here in Indore. Now, does that create an opportunity for small and medium-sized software development firms, or does that pose a threat?
I think it works both ways. We are actually actively working with TCS at Indore. But when I talk to them, the development center head of TCS, most of the people they actually hire are not from the traditional elite institutes, but largely from tier B and around kind of schools. And most of the projects that they handle, most of the work that they handle is largely out of Indore kind of work for clients which are out of Indore. So I'm not really sure, as of now in the current scheme of things, companies like TCS and Infosys situated in Indore for various reasons are actually looking for clients based in Indore. I think tech-based startups in Indore will have to present an interesting business case to companies like TCS and Infosys to kind of rope them in, but I think that will take some time. So I believe as of now, those companies are crown jewels of Indore. Yes, they are there with their development centers, but when it comes to contributing to the local industry in terms of technology partnerships, etc., I think it's some time away before that can happen.
Pooja, I'll just like to add to,
Please.
if you look at why IITs and IIMs were set in specific locations, it was basically to develop an ecosystem so that the whole community around that could have a higher education environment. More people will get attracted towards higher education. They may not go to the IITs or IIMs per se, but at least the interest levels will develop, and therefore the skill set of the whole surrounding area will go high. In the same vein, if TCS and Infosys, they come into a city like Indore, the opportunities may not come up for the local crowd per se, but the very fact that such institutions are situated here will create enough curiosity for the local crowd to aspire for bigger things, which may not happen otherwise. And therefore, while, there's another factor also. A lot of people now prefer to work in a city like an Indore or a Bhopal instead of a Bangalore or a Mumbai, simply because of the cost of living, the ease of living, and all those factors. So as they mingle into the local crowd, that has its own advantages, both economic as well as social.
So SMEs, they need access to capital. They need access to mentorship, right? They need access to top talent pools, perhaps expert business advice as to how to structure their monetization and revenue models, and the list goes on and on. And now that we've sort of established that academia is the first step, I think it's very clear industry is the second. So Anupama, my question to you is, what are the resources available at the Indore-based SMEs footsteps at their disposal? And what are the organizations and the programs that perhaps best reflect the SME industry's voice in this city?
So I would say there are a lot of organizations today which are working towards, developing knowledge or giving networking platforms to various SMEs, or there is exchange of knowledge. We have CII, we have bodies like IMA. Today we even have Vicky Flow in our chapter here. We have other than that, yeah, I mean, these are various organizations. We even have EO for that matter. So these are the organizations which keep organizing various programs and a lot of sessions which helps SMEs to interact with each other. There are a lot of expos also that are being organized here. So this is regarding, exchange of knowledge. Regarding the talent pool that you just spoke, I agree that there is a problem that, youth want to, go and work in cities like Bangalore and Mumbai and Delhi and Pune. But there is a shift now. Since the time we have started talking about entrepreneurship, there is a shift. And today students have started joining, have agreed to join SMEs and startups also. I work in a college and I see there are at least around 30% of the placements where students are willing to join SMEs and startups for a simple reason that they have understood what they can learn at these industries. They cannot learn at big industries like TCS and Infosys. So that is why there is, the students' acceptability in terms of talent and joining these SMEs have improved. But today there are a lot of efforts. I won't say they are they are doing at the best of their level, but now there are a lot of efforts made by government also by setting up various incubation centers, and we have various networking networks available like Indore Entrepreneurs Network or eChai, or for that matter, Head Start has started operating its operations in Indore, where you get to interact with people face to face, and most importantly, mentoring sessions is what have started coming in Indore. If I have to talk about women for that matter, I'm heading the Swayam under Flow Indore chapter, which is an initiative by FICCI where we connect the local SMEs or people who are wanting to start up to the established entrepreneurs in the city, where they can get one-to-one mentoring with each other and they can understand what are the best ways of doing it, where they are stuck, how can they grow, what are the marketing challenges. So I won't say that it's happening at a level that we expect, but it has started happening in the city.
So adding something more to what she said, see, startup ecosystem cannot be built in a single day. It takes time, right? Earlier it was Bangalore, then, now Indore probably stands 7th number in the country, in the startup culture. Now, government introduced the startup policy in 2016 in MP, right? Now it's just 2 years, right? So they are even working on that. Even UNDP, United Nations wing of UN, it's also working with MP government just to leverage MSMEs, right? So again, they have set up incubation center like AIC, Atal Incubation Center is there. It's working in Bhopal, it's working in Indore. But again, startups or MSMEs, they are not aware of these things. Awareness is a big issue over here. Again, say like.
Well, I just want to take that a step further. So say a startup or an SME in this audience has now become aware as a result of this conversation. Help me understand in very tangible terms, and I'll start with you, sir. What is required for this particular startup or SME to be incubated? Is it a fully baked management team? Do they have to be profitable? Do they have to have a clear monetization model? Do they have to have a completely innovative idea so that it's not another Me Too strategy? If they knock on an incubator's door, what happens next?
Yeah, I will put a quote over here. It's not about ideas, it's about making ideas happen. Right? So when you want to make your idea happen, there are n number of factors that will be used over here. Right? It's not only about funds, it's not only about resources, it's not only about a solid management team, right? It's about your expertise and your knowledge into this thing. Like when we're talking about startup culture, like every third person is starting that I'm going for a startup. Like I'm going to start my business. But is he focused on what he is going to do, or he's just watching like Oyo, or he's watching just Ola and starting something like that? Or is going to do something on own. So people are starting their businesses just to generate money. I mean, there's their mindset. It's not that they are not going to solve a problem, right? So once they have a clear understanding why they are starting their businesses, what they want to do, then they can then they can use these resources at the optimum level.
Professor, do you feel the same way that there is a lack of clarity when it comes to focus and which particular business problem they're trying to solve? Or is it that resources are not, sort of getting to the right people at the right time?
I would think, Pooja, that as an academician and also somebody who teaches courses on new product development and service development, what we need really are winning ideas. The problem with the Indian startup ecosystem is that we actually have almost 99% of those ideas would be incremental ideas. They are not those big winning ideas coming through. There's some research which tells you that, there's a stage gate model which talks about, how you lead from an idea and a strategy to a successful launch of a product or a service. That research tells us that it takes around 3,000 ideas on an average to get that one winning product or a service. So the first challenge obviously is to get those ideas, get big ideas and get so many ideas. And second, obviously, you need to have a very strong strategy to get that idea through into a successful product or a service. And what does this strategy entail? It entails what is the customer value I'll be generating at the end, when that product or service is launched? What is an incremental value for a customer to, adopt that product or service? And second, how does technology and customer need come together and match with my own capabilities as an organization and the opportunity which exists? I think what we lack really in the Indian startup ecosystem are two things. We are not generating enough ideas, especially winning ideas, breakthrough ideas. And second, there's not enough strategization which is happening at the front end of service development to ensure that whatever we do is successful in the end. So that is why you see a lot of failed startups. So for one success story, for one Flipkart, there might be 100 of such other ventures which have not made it and have. So we don't talk about those. We always focus on Flipkarts and Ubers and Olas. I think we have to look at those other case studies as what went wrong there.
What I personally feel is that, everything is available. What is lacking is the network. It's important that being an entrepreneur, wherever there is anything happening, you need to go and build your network. Otherwise, if you have your network, I don't think you need any other organization for that matter. Network itself is the big asset and strength of any entrepreneur. You don't need any organization to connect you to any mentor. If you go and attend events, just exchange your cards, just understand who's doing what. You may like somebody and you feel that person can guide you in that particular area. You can just ask them for that help and anybody is open to it.
Well, there seems to be a lot of optimism here with respect to future growth prospects around this city, and it seems to me that well beyond a services-driven economy, Indore is poised to become a highly diversified one. And, I have to thank all of our panelists for imparting such great insights, such wonderful takeaways and nuggets of wisdom. A huge round of applause for them, please.
All right, that's our show tonight. If you have any feedback for us, we love hearing from you. Do write in at leadersoftomorrow@timesgroup.com. That's our email ID. Get in touch with us on social media. Sunanda_J is my personal Twitter handle. LOT_ET Now is our official Twitter handle. Our Facebook page is Leaders of Tomorrow on ET Now. Thanks for watching. Have a good night.